Look at this. This device shocks you to keep you awake. Even the most ruthless capitalist would see this and burst into tears. But honestly, the electricity is not the disturbing part. The disturbing part is that nobody forced him to wear it. He bought the punishment himself. The supervisor no longer has to stand beside the bed. The command is already living inside his body. And once you notice that, ordinary work culture starts to look a little less ordinary. You finish everything early than expected, and for a brief moment you feel this changed lightness, almost as though the system has forgotten you exist. Then your manager notices, and the silence immediately fills up with another task. This is one of the strangest rewards in modern life. If you are slow, people lower their expectations, but if you are competent, somehow your competence becomes public property. I used to hear the phrase work hard as something automatically good. Growing up here in China, I heard hard work praised almost as a moral virtue. If someone was hardworking, that already seemed to tell you something good about his character. It sounded responsible, like something a serious adult was supposed to behave. But over time, I started to realize that this was too simple. The word hard may already be telling us that something has gone wrong. I started wondering, why is it supposed to stay hard? Obviously, some periods of life are difficult. Sometimes you have to push beyond what is comfortable. I'm not talking about becoming lazy and calling it Taoism. I mean something else. When hard working becomes your permanent identity, it often means you are doing things at the expense of some other part of yourself. Usually something else is being sacrificed. Maybe it is your health. Or maybe you become so busy doing the work that you stop asking whether it should be done at all. At that point, I'm not sure effort is the right word anymore. It starts to feel less like effort and more like a kind of pressure you are applying to yourself. You may actually be using work to overpower yourself, and underneath all of this, I think the person doing this is actually searching for stability. Somewhere inside, he's thinking, if I become useful enough, maybe they cannot get rid of me. Maybe then I can finally relax. But here is the strange part. The system learns a different lesson. It learns that this person can carry more. So the worker becomes faster and the workload quietly rises around him. Before long, everybody depends on him. After a while, that exceptional effort becomes the new minimum. The reward for proving that you can survive pressure is more pressure. I grew up around a very strong version of the belief that if you work hard enough, you can rise above everyone else. In China, ideas such as involution and lying flat became ways for many young people to question the belief that effort automatically produces a better life. People keep putting more energy into the competition, but they are becoming less convinced that the destination is worth reaching. And honestly, I think they are seeing something real. Exploitation is part of it, but that still does not explain the whole problem. The sentence "work hard and you will reach the top" already hides a question nobody wants to ask. The top of what? Are you becoming more capable of serving something real, or are you climbing because you never want to feel small again? To be fair, climbing a hierarchy is not automatically wrong. I thought the hierarchy itself was the problem. Actually, this is not quite right. Maybe the deeper issue is what is moving inside you while you climb. A person can call it ambition when it is actually revenge with a calendar. All the resentment, dissatisfaction, and the suppressed anger are quietly accumulating inside him, burning like fuel, pushing him forward just to beat everyone else. And when that person becomes highly competent, imagine what might happen when responsibility starts gathering around him. This may seem counterintuitive at first, but there is actually a reason it happens. When you compete inside a system, you learn its rules. When you learn those rules better than other people, the system starts relying on you more and more to keep itself running and stable. You become the person everyone messages at 10:30 because they know you will fix it. Somehow, the impossible deadline also becomes your responsibility. Then one day you say, I just want freedom. I thought I wanted freedom, or maybe the better way to say it is, I want recovery. This idea of freedom often has no direction. It just means, please let me recover recover from the life I've built. Ask the person what he wants freedom for, and he may not know. Mostly, he wants relief from the machine he helped prove could run this fast. That is why competence can produce responsibility without producing sovereignty. You become capable of doing much more. What you still do not have is the authority to ask what all that capacity should serve. And stopping becomes difficult. This part took me longer to understand. Have you ever sat down to rest, just enjoying a sunny afternoon, and immediately felt that you were doing something wrong? Sometimes the good is not really about unfinished work. The deeper problem is that rest removes the structure and the vessel that have been telling the person who he is. When the activity stops, the original anxiety returns, and then the question begins, am I still useful? Is somebody becoming more valuable while I'm sitting here? So the person starts working again. Working makes the anxiety quieter for a while, and because it works temporarily, the person returns to it, even though the whole cycle may be creating more anxiety. Yang Chu Han describes this as a kind of compulsive freedom. The person feels like he is making his own choices, but in reality, he is internally pressured to keep maximizing achievement for the system. Nobody needs to stand behind him anymore. The supervisor's voice is already inside his head, and because the command now speaks in his own voice, he calls it discipline. To be fair, real discipline exists. A genuinely strong person can endure difficulty without turning difficulty into his identity. He can work intensely and still know when to stop. Success is something he has. It is not evidence that he deserves to exist. A person who is bluffing is different. He may look powerful, but the sense of power is often just a performance built to cover something much more fragile underneath. In many cases, it is protecting a part of him that already feels exhausted, uncertain, or quietly broken, even if he has learned to hide it very well. He cannot slow down because slowing down might expose the crack. And this is where modern institutions become very effective. The institution does not have to understand your inner life. A number on a dashboard is enough for it to keep operating. Obviously, an institute needs some way to measure results. You know how this works. If you produced 10 yesterday, 10 becomes the norm today. And at some point, it is no longer just the institution setting the standard. The standard stops feeling external at all. It starts to operate on its own, inside you, as if it has quietly taken up residence in your mind. You don't even notice the shift at first. You just begin to feel that something below it is not simply not enough, but something closer to a personal failure, like you are the one who has fallen short, even when nothing has been explicitly demanded. Survive one unreasonable month, and your survival is used as evidence that the month was reasonable. The institution remembers your output, your body remembers the cost. I do not know how else to put it, but the whole system starts to feel cursed. It reminds me of the cursed crew in Pirates of the Caribbean, the curse of the Black Pearl. They keep eating, but the hunger never changes. This is what endless achievement starts to feel like. You receive the promotion and expect to feel stable. Instead, the standard of stability moves again. Even your desires become more expensive. The hunger is not being fed. It is being trained. So what would healthy work actually look like? The way I see it now, healthy work has to return something to the person. The person should have work with something more than fatigue. Real work should demand something from you, but after years of doing it, you should not feel as though your whole life was spent feeding someone else's machine. Over time, the work should make your judgment better. You should become more capable of serving without becoming less humane. This is why I kept thinking about this story of Cook Ding in Zhuangzi. At first, Cook Ding struggles with the ox in front of him. Years later, he's no longer forcing the knife through everything. He follows the natural openings. When asked about his ability, he says, "What I care about is the Tao, an alignment with the universe that goes beyond mere skill." That sentence changes the entire meaning of mastery. I used to imagine mastery as somebody pushing harder than everyone else, as if working hard enough would allow me to master everything, Cookding suggests almost the opposite. At the highest level, action becomes less focused because the person finally understands what is actually in front of him. And of course, alignment does not mean everything becomes effortless. The work may still be difficult, but difficulty is no longer treated as proof that the work is meaningful. The work serves something higher than output. Maybe the work serves your family or the community around you, but even these purposes should be part of a larger relationship with God or the Tao. Work itself cannot be the final authority. Who cannot tell the human being what he should become? And after genuine work, something should return to the person. Financial compensation is one obvious return, but there should also be some inner peace, a sense that the effort entered the world in the right way. You should be able to look at what you produced without feeling that producing it make you smaller. Transformative work should also change your relationship to the system. Maybe you simply develop enough judgment to say no when the work no longer feels right. Otherwise, you can spend 30 years becoming excellent at one thing, living inside the prism. And when the door finally opens, you discover that the prism is the only place where you know how to exist. That is the real danger of hard work. Tiredness is not even the deepest danger. The deeper danger is that the work builds a person whose most developed capacity is the ability to survive more work. And if this is making you look at your own work differently, please subscribe. Before your next ambitious week, ask yourself one question. Is this effort building a life, or is it only building a better worker?